Our lesson goal for today is to be able to solve problems similar to this. You are saving money to buy a Chromebook. You begin with $55 and you save $4 each week. The expression 55 plus 4W gives the amount of money you save after W weeks. How much will you have after 5 weeks, 10 weeks, 20 weeks? Part B, after 20 weeks, can you buy the Chromebook? Explain. We were able to create the expression 55 plus 4W by adding the initial value, the amount you have already saved, and how much you will be saving each week. The amount your saving account is increasing by. When we take a look at the first problem, after 5 weeks, we're going to evaluate. That means to substitute that value in for a variable. In this case, it's W for the number of weeks. When we substitute, we like to use parentheses, and we're going to plug in the 5. Now we're going to use OR operation. We must multiply before we add. And then 55 plus 20 is 75. By the end of this lesson, I'll be able to identify parts of an expression and evaluate expressions. Our essential question is, how can you write and evaluate an expression representing real-life problems? We are here. An algebraic expression is an expression that may contain numbers, operations, and one or more symbols. Parts of an algebraic expression are called terms, which are separated by a plus or a minus symbol. In multiplication expressions, the quantities being multiplied are factors, and the result is the product. A raised dot or a set of parentheses are often used to indicate a product. Here are several ways to represent the product of x and y. The anatomy of an expression. Variable. A symbol that represents one or more numbers is called a variable. X in this case is the variable. Coefficient. The numerical factor of a term that contains a variable is a coefficient. 8 is the coefficient because 8 is in front of the variable. So the number that's directly in front of the letter. Constant. A constant is a term without a variable. So in this case, since we just have a number, this is considered a constant. Identify the terms, coefficients, and constants of each expression. Pro tip. A variable by itself has a coefficient of 1. So the variable x has a coefficient of 1. X is the same as 1x. In this case, we can see we have two terms, 3x and negative 9. Since this is a minus 9, we're going to write this as a negative 9 as our term. Our coefficient, we only have one variable, so we're only going to have one coefficient, which is 3. Constant, this minus 9 or negative 9 does not have a variable attached to it, so this is our constant, negative 9. In the next case, we have 5g as a term, h squared as a term, and 7. Unlike this case where we have to write down the negative 9, when it's a plus sign, you do not. These numbers are considered positive. Our coefficients, since we have two variables, we're going to have two coefficients. But remember, 1 is a coefficient when you don't see one. You always have an invisible 1 if there's not a number in front of the variable. So our coefficients are 5 as well as 1. We have one constant. 7 does not have a variable attached to it, so our constant is 7. You may want to pause to try this one on your own. Our terms are 12c and 8. Our coefficient is 12. Our constant is 8. On the next one, our terms are 1/4, d squared, negative 3abc, as well as 12. Our coefficients are 1, negative 3. Our constants are 1/4 and 12. To evaluate an algebraic expression, substitute a number for each variable, then use OR operation to find the value of the numerical expression. In this particular case, we have 2a squared plus b cubed. We want to evaluate this when a is equal to 3 and b is equal to 4. So the first step, we write down our expression. We want to rewrite it with parentheses replacing the variables. We'll substitute our variables now. A is equal to 3. B is equal to 4. 3 squared is 9, and 4 cubed, remember that's 4 times 4 times 4. 4 times 4 is 16, 16 times 4 is 64. 2 times 9 is 18, and 18 plus 64 is 82. We are here now. You may want to pause to try to do these on your own. On the first one, we have 8 times 4 plus 4. 8 times 4 is 32, and 32 plus 4 is 36. On our next one, we have 28 minus 20 divided by 4. Odd operation says we're going to have to divide before we subtract. 20 divided by 4 is 5. 28 minus 5 is 23. In our next case, we have 4 squared minus 3.7, or minus 3 7/10. 4 squared is 16. 16 minus 3 7/10 will line up our decimal. Since 16 does not have a decimal, there's a decimal after the 6. Now we'll borrow from the 6. The 6 will become a 5. We'll add 10 to the 0, which makes it 10. 10 minus 7 is 3. Bring down your decimal. 15 minus 3 is 12. Our answer is 12.3. Again, you may want to pause to try to do these on your own. When we evaluate in this particular case, we have 18 divided by 6, which is 3. In our next case, we have 18 plus 6, which is 24. In the next case, we have 18 minus 6, which is 12. In our next case, this is the one that causes a lot of issues. When we see mn and there's nothing next to it, this means when we evaluate using parentheses, remember parentheses means multiplication. So when you see this this reads as m times n. And this gives us 18 times 6. 18 times 6, when we work it out, 6 times 8 is 48, carry the 4. 6 times 1 is 6, plus 4 is 108. Now we're back to our lesson goal problem. When we see our expression, 55 plus 4w. When we see 55 plus 4w, this 4w again means 4 times w. When we look at the parentheses, when we substitute the 5, it's 55 plus 20, which is $75. When we take a look at the next one, when we substitute the 10, it's going to look exactly the same. The only change is instead of writing a 5, we write a 10. 4 times 10 is 40. 55 plus 40 is $95. And the last one, instead of having a 5 replacing the w or a 10 replacing w, we're going to use 20. 4 times 20 is 80. 55 plus 80 is 135. Part B says, after 20 weeks, can you buy the Chromebook? Explain. After 20 weeks, you have $135, so you can buy the $119.99 Chromebook. Our last problem, a math tutor charges $50 per hour. How much will 8 hours of tutoring cost? In this case, we'll say 50h. So when we write 50h, this means 50 times h. 50 representing the amount the tutor gets paid per hour. The h is the number of hours. We're going to evaluate 50 times 8, and this is equal to $400. A special shout out goes to Victor and Johnny. Keep up the good work. Have a great day. Bye-bye.